All right, we're live.
Good morning. You know what? I think I'm going to have our friends and listeners to the podcast. They might have to do the introduction. Nighthawk 13666 has got the greatest introduction. Top of the morning, folks. Welcome to Roll Call. Like, share, and subscribe on your way in. All you latecomers, don't forget to hand in your 28s. Nighthawk President duty, sirs. Hey, brother, thank you so much for anyone who's outside the NYPD. 28 is actually a form that you fill out for vacation time, or they call it lost time if you're coming in late to work and you're going to get vacation time docked. Thank you so much, all our friends and listeners of the podcast that have sat through 4 hours twice of different podcasts yesterday about what's unraveling with the NYPD. And, we appreciate that you're sitting with us for all these hours, giving our perspective of what's going on with the NYPD as we unroll all the information. So, John's been putting all this stuff up on the computer and, at the same time, getting all the information to you. And thank you so much, because as we're doing the podcast and putting out the information, our friends and listeners to the podcast are giving us all the room and information and all the valuable information that we could put on the episode. So we appreciate that. We're all doing this together. Thank you so much for helping us. John, brother, you tired or what? How do you feel?
I feel good, bro. I feel good, but I don't feel like, I feel like there's a lot of shit that needs to happen still. Like everybody's like, oh, he's out. I'm like, and I hear the calls of everybody that are saying, why is just Caban being singled out? And I really agree with it. Dude, I said to you just 2 seconds ago, I'm like, bro, if it's my first day, I'm walking in. Nice to meet all of you. Listen, you're all done, so I'd like your resignation papers. None of you are going to serve in this role anymore. The entire dream, the self-proclaimed dream team. Absolutely no way I keep anyone around me, because like I said, it's really true. Either you were too fucking stupid to see the scam, or you were in on it. But either way, I can't trust you. You're the new police commissioner. You're walking into this debacle. Debacle.
John, could you imagine? I think what I would do right now, I think I would put Casino on, right? I would put 2 TVs. I would put Al Pacino as loud as possible from Scarface when he's fucking firing away. And at the same time, I would put on another TV screen with Casino at the same time with that idiot who couldn't figure out what's going on in the casino, and have them come in and like, listen, and hear the 2 TVs. Like, listen, you know where to go. See the door, because everyone is infected right now. Again, just like Ed Bones, when it comes to the SBA, don't tell me that he's the only one that knew what's going on. He's the fall guy, brother. And I think the same thing is happening here with Ed Caban. Don't tell me he's the only one that everyone is he's a one-man show. Come on now. I mean, because half the time he's not even here. So he's doing all this from guitar.
Nah, dude, and I said it yesterday, and I always say it, integrity is a non-negotiable in policing. It's a non-negotiable. And this, they love to call themselves a leadership team, but this politically appointed management team has proven time and time again to lack integrity. So I'm saying right now, the bums got to go. Throw them all out. Throw every single one of them out, because after I play you this video, after we play you this video and we show you who's involved, we're going to go into where they work, who they're connected to. We had Marlon Bethel. I got to give a big shout out to him. He's been in the background, looking, giving us information, researching. Eric Adams terminated very competent people. He forced a lot of competent people out of the NYPD. It's going to come and bite him in the ass. So, I'm betting you wish you pulled that mandate now. I'm betting you wish you pulled that mandate. I'm betting you wished you did things a lot different now, because a lot of this is going to come back to bite you in the ass. So, I mean, what do you got before we get this video? Anything? Because, I mean, honestly, when I saw it, I was like, I'm not surprised, motherfucker.
I want to say that too. Again, the failure on the leadership. Forget about all this corruption going on. This really is the icing on the cake. Just solidifies how bad this administration is. But forget, even if we didn't have all this corruption, just terrible leadership. Again, how did John McCary, intelligent, experience in the police department, experience in life, great leader. How did they let him leave the job? How did they let me leave the job? A special operations lieutenant, anti-crime sergeant, former Marine, served in combat. I went to OCS, honor grad. I have all this experience to offer, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but we are just two of so many other good men and women from the police department that have great attributes. How they let them leave? And that's why I said it's terrible leadership. How did nobody, not one person, I had 8 sets of administrative charges in 6 weeks from CCRB, never had any discipline. How did that not come up as a red flag? How did one person in charge at the police commissioner or the first step, who was Ed Caban at the time, say, wait a minute, that's a red flag. What is going on here? And then I was told by Lou Turkle that he would speak to Ed Caban, and Ed Caban could possibly dismiss them. And you know what was regurgitated back to me? Nothing could be done. Wow. I'm sure a lot could be done, if you're in the Hispanic society or if you're Kaz Daughtry. If you got the hand of the king, and that's why I would say nepotism is connected to corruption, you're in. There's a great comment here before you go. And absolutely, like spot on right here. I think it's from Patrick Donahue. It's hilarious, but it's true. Man, these comments are flying in. I can't even keep up with them. Anyway, I can't find it, but the whole point, Patrick Donahue put a comment about it. It didn't go over too well that certain people were bragging about not going to 233 Broadway. So you're 100% right, because they're headed to 500 Pearl Street. John, let's get right into it. This just keeps unraveling day by day.
Yeah, so this video comes out, NBC4, investigative team. I forget the reporter's name. It's this guy over here. But a lot of you guys sent it to me. I really appreciate it. So I actually passed out after we did. As soon as I woke up, I had this about 70 times. So I appreciate you guys. We put it out on the thing. We threw our logo over it as well, because I'm like, why not? And yeah, Brooklyn bar owner alleges shakedown. Here we go.
Federal corruption investigation into City Hall and the NYPD now includes allegations of a shakedown. A Brooklyn bar owner says he was told that his problems with the NYPD would go away if he paid the police commissioner's brother. And he says it was a worker in the mayor's office who tried to help arrange that deal. Chief investigative reporter Jonathan Dietz joins us now with details.
Chuck, the bar owner had his permits, his liquor license, and his share of noise complaints. But what he says he needed, a break from tough NYPD enforcement. Seeking help, he says he was introduced to a mayoral staffer and then to the twin brother of the NYPD's top cop. And then he says he was asked for thousands in payments.
I felt like it was like I got an ultimatum. Like, it's either you get with this or you're going to get shut down. We're going to make sure you get shut down.
Shamel Kelly says it was this man, mayoral staffer Ray Martin, who first told him he could pay the police commissioner's brother to help get better treatment from the NYPD.
He just said that he was assistant of Eric Adams, and he know people, and he dropped the Mr. Eddie Caban name because he's I guess the NYPD commissioner, and I was having problems with the NYPD.
Later, Kelly says the police commissioner's brother James Caban told him he could help with his NYPD problems if he paid him $2,500 up front. The state liquor authority says Kelly's bar was not facing any charges of wrongdoing, but there were dozens of noise complaints to 311 about loud music. Kelly says he felt too many cops from the 60 precinct kept showing up, hurting his relatively new business, the Juice and More Bar, along Mermaid Avenue. And he says his pleas for help from the NYPD and local community board were unsuccessful. Kelly said he never expected that Ray Martin from the mayor's office would give him this advice.
He went on about how he thinks that I should just close the bar, and if I don't close the bar, there's only one way to get the police to stop doing what they're doing, and that's to speak to one of his friends, which was the James Caban guy.
James Caban, an ex-cop, is the twin brother of NYPD Commissioner Eddie Caban. Kelly showed us phone records and text messages from August 2023, where Martin from the mayor's office allegedly encouraged Kelly to contact James Caban. Hey, Shamel, reminder to call James. Kelly says these phone records and texts show he and the commissioner's brother discussed the issues surrounding his business, a business which was a juice bar by day and licensed to serve alcohol on weekend nights. James Caban allegedly wrote, spoke to the commanding officer, and the biggest complaint from the community board is that you're registered as a juice bar, and now you're doing parties there. Lots of noise complaints.
If you have a license to serve alcohol, it shouldn't matter. And I also explained to him that the community board knew that it was the summertime, so they knew we were going to do Thursday, Friday, Saturday night events.
Records suggest Kelly and Caban also spoke by phone. And that's when Kelly says James Caban asked him for the initial $2,500.
He said that he will mediate my issues with NYPD. He could bring them to me, have a meeting, resolve our issues, is what he specifically said he could do. After he said I had to pay him for it, I felt like it was him trying to extort me. So I just was like, you know what? No, I'm good. I'll just deal with it how I deal with it. And it got worse.
Kelly says the Ray Martin and James Caban connection bothered him.
I assume that you would be like, oh, okay. Yeah, let's call a meeting. Let's figure out what this problem is. I'm not expecting for you to be like, oh, you got to pay me some money if you want this problem to go away. Nah, that doesn't fall with me.
Martin did not return requests for comment. James Caban's attorneys issued this statement. Mr. Caban unequivocally denies any wrongdoing. His work as a consultant and acting as a liaison between the department and a private company is perfectly legal, especially given his previous career as an NYPD officer. Our client has fully cooperated with law enforcement, and once their investigation is complete, it will be clear that these claims are unfounded and lack merit. Former NYPD Chief of Department and NBC New York consultant, Terry Monahan.
Everything we heard from the bar owner, if those allegations are true, it's at minimal unethical and possibly criminal in the way that they were dealing with the bar owner.
I've been really like hurt, disappointed, stressed, depressed.
Kelly is not just making the allegations now. He posted his concerns on social media back in February, but at the time, few noticed. As for Juice and More, Kelly closed it down in February.
I don't think it was just me. I think that's probably a thing that's going on in New York City specifically, to be honest.
City Hall late today issued this statement. We appreciate WNBC for bringing this information to our attention yesterday afternoon. After receiving this inquiry, we immediately began an internal review and found that Mr. Martin violated the terms of his employment. Mr. Martin was terminated for cause yesterday. We expect all city employees to act ethically and in the public interest. That staffer, Martin, now fired, and again, he has not returned requests for comment. We just spoke with the bar owner again, and he tells us the feds and DOI investigators are with him, interviewing him this afternoon in connection with the ongoing corruption investigations into City Hall and the NYPD. Natalie.
Chief.
Hey, John, how convenient that Mayor Eric Adams never mentioned this aide and never mentioned that he was terminated. How convenient. And on another quick note, before we actually dive into this, Matthew O'Brien, good morning, brother. He says, take a knee, Terrence. You know, I'm with you, brother. I don't care. First of all, when Terrence Monahan was talking, I could care less what that guy has to say. He lost all credibility and all respect on my behalf. I could care less what he has to say. Take a knee, brother. Now, I know we're going to dive into this. So, John, why don't you start? Let's dive into this because there's so much to peel back here.
So just on Terrence Monahan, and Terry, if you're listening to this, I have no doubt in my mind if they would have kept you on, you'd be embroiled in this scandal too. So good work, because you were kneeler and you would have went along with a ride too. You bended your good name, your hard work, this shield. You started all of this. So that's my first thoughts about Terrence Monahan. But obviously what we just heard here is an extortion, shakedown, racketeering allegation, right? We just heard that. Would you hear that? You heard that the police commissioner's brother was using his influence with the NYPD to make money. You heard that the 60 precinct commanding officer was fielding phone calls and giving information to the police commissioner's brother. We know he had a detail. right? What else was being accused is that he was working at Manhattan nightclubs. So this consulting company was working citywide. I think at this point it's safe to allege that there's a lot of people wrapped up in this, and there's a lot of people that knew what's going on, and there's a lot of people that did this. Oh, I don't know what's going on. And there's a lot of people that played along and bended their integrity to stay in the good graces, maybe get a bump to DI, maybe get a bump to full bird, maybe get that 1 star. And to me, the mayor's office is implicated. You know, we had brought you 2 shows ago. We had showed you how the March program had got pulled down. And the March program was a multi-agency response task force to bars and restaurants and nightlife in New York City. And, you know, I made us think about it when it happened. I said, like, why are we doing this? Like, this doesn't even make any sense. Like, why is the thing that we can't keep New Yorkers safe? Like, why is this a problem? They're like, oh, the enforcement of it. You know, we're going to create this new cure program, and I'm going to create this new office of nightlife. And they put this guy in charge of it, Garcia, whatever. And, you know, we were told by the police commissioner, by Jeffrey Madry, by Adams, by the nightlife mayor, by all these different people that, well, we're not going to seek enforcement anymore, and we're not going to go around. We're going to cure, right? We're going to help businesses grow. Almost consulting, right? And there was a lot of questionable statements that came out, looking in hindsight, that came out from Ed Caban, that came out from Jeffrey Madry, that came out from the mayor, that came out from the nightlife guy, whatever his name is. And the guy that you see here, that he's saying he reached out to him for help. So this business owner reached out to the Office of Nightlife. He reached out to them for help. That's the guy. That's where he worked. He worked at the Office of Nightlife. I'll pull up his business card in a little bit, and I'm going to show that to you. But he worked at the Office of Nightlife. And this is what happened when he reached out to him. He got given information that's a protection racket scandal. Pay me, and it goes away. Or don't pay me, and now you're going to have a problem. You're going to have a bigger problem than you already have.
So there's a couple things to peel back here. I mean, this could take hours, but so at this point, what I feel like what we have at this point is it's like you're in the kitchen and you're making a sandwich. You got your piece of bread, you put your meat on it, and what we're missing right now is that second piece of bread. We got a lot of information here. We have the bar owner contacted the mayor's office with the nightlife office. We have communication between them. We have communication them inferring and directing that there is a racketeering scheme with the brother of Ed Caban, and he actually names the commissioner as well. Now, what we're missing at this point, and that's the missing piece that we're going to get, is what is on the phones of Ed Caban and those in and around him, and also Mayor Eric Adams and his aides. That's going to be the second piece of bread that's going to put this all together. Now, I'll say this. So, John, sure enough, I think we've been far ahead of the news because of our perspective on police, and we're willing to speak the truth, along with our friends and listeners to the podcast. And we've been putting this entire thing together. And I'll say this. The entire upper echelon of the police department, I've been saying it, has been infected and compromised. They all need to go. In order to carry out this racketeering scheme, if it does turn out to be true, if this guy Martin's not just flexing any muscle to look cool, right? Because we need a second piece of bread here. Then the entire job is infected. And some people have been infected because they know what's going on. And some are infected because they're just acting stupidly, not because they're stupid, because they're doing their job. So I think the key to this is going to be the 311s, John. If you look at the 311s, and that's why I say it's unfortunate how many people are being dragged into this and may not only know what's going on or just maybe doing it stupid. You know, and as a special operations lieutenant, I could say, and John, you know it, you're in charge of the 311s. you're in charge to audit those 301s. Now, I was fortunate to work in housing, so that wasn't my forte at nightlife locations. But if you're in a precinct like the 6-0 and you have nightlife locations, you're the special operations lieutenant. You're in charge of those 301s, especially the noise complaints. Why? Because the theory behind the police department is noise complaints can lead to violence and also potential shootings, and in many cases it does. So you're the lieutenant, and let's say you're just doing this unknowingly, and you're communicating with your commanding officer who does have the information and is potentially communicating with the upper echelon up to James Caban, the brother, and Ed Caban. So now, remember what I said, John, we talked about this. In order to have teeth to this hustle, there needs to be muscle. And that's why I feel sorry for the cops, because those cops you see standing out there, if this allegation is true, the cops standing out at the bar, they were the muscle. Unknowingly, they were the muscle. They went to this 311 here, allegedly at this point. They were summoned to these 311 locations to show muscle, because here's the potential. If you don't pay, then these cops are going to summon you. And the lieutenant is sending them there. And the commanding officer is communicating with the upper echelon if this is true. So, John, just think the whole job may be affected at this point, knowingly or unknowingly.
Well, absolutely. There's going to be cops that have absolutely no idea what they did. Things that look weird, but nothing real weird. You know, you're going in there, just 90 yellow. That's nothing. It's nothing. Don't worry about it, kid. It's just a 90 yellow. You follow the sergeant's orders. Okay, no problem. You didn't know what the hell was going on there. Oh, there's a problem. It's giving us problems. Oh, nah, nothing's going on there. Lay off that bar tonight. Nothing's going on there. You're not going to know. Why would you think anything's weird, So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people implicated in that. But like I said, this stems from corruption at the top. So I'm not even honing in on the special operations lieutenants or the sergeants at this point. And, I'm sure all you guys are sweating too. But we really got to look at the top. I mean, the chief of patrol's entire police force has been weaponized. They've been weaponized. Commanding officers that fall under him, the deputy commissioner of operations, the first deputy commissioner. I mean, they're all, if what is being alleged is true, and it appears to be true. I mean, look at where Ray Martin works. He works at the mayor's office of nightlife. To me, seems like the mayor's in on it too. Seems like the whole reason the March program was pulled down is to alleviate the checks and balances and when it comes to nightlights. And I literally, if you go back on my tweets, I was literally saying, I guess Eric Adams' friends aren't going to have a problem anymore. I guess all Eric Adams' friends that were having a problem with these March programs aren't going to have that problem anymore. But it's even worse because it looks like people are looking to profit off of businesses in New York City. So that's Ray Martin. You call the Office of Nightlife to ask for help. You call a New York City agency to get for help. And next thing you know, you're involved in a racketeering extortion scheme. And if you don't go along, guess what happens? Your business is shuttered. It's gone. They're going to hammer you until your business is done. So, I hear all the Hispanic organizations. I hear I hear you guys. I 100% hear you. I hear the Dominican organization. Why is it just Ed Caban? I hear the Cabans. You know what? But I think that's going to be a grave mistake on Eric Adams' part. And I think that's going to be a grave mistake for the rest of the New York City Police Department because all those people that were chomping at the bit, Eddie's gone, I'm going to take his seat. Because they never really liked Eddie anyway, right? They were just waiting for his seat anyway, right? Kaz, weren't you? John, weren't you? You all just wanted to be the police commissioner anyway, right? Now you're not, and you're furious. But you guys should have known what was going on. And if you didn't, I'm going to say again, either you're too fucking stupid to see the scam or you were in on it. But either way, it doesn't matter. Throw the bums out. This stinks. It stinks to high hell. I mean, this is honestly a black eye on the stain of the entire department. And the only way to correct this right now is for numerous resignation letters. But guess what? You guys left Eddie Caban out there. You left James Caban out there. And you were all fucking in on it. What do you think they're going to do? You think they're going to exhibit loyalty to you now? I don't think so. I think they're going to take everybody fucking with them.
So the reason why I was pointing out what's going on at the actual 6-0 precinct, this particular case, what's alleged. There's the scene where you see the cops standing there at these nightlife locations. Know what I know about 301s, right? Because 301s, you have to audit them and really what's meant for them.
Just tell everybody what a 311 is, because I think a lot of people aren't going to know what the hell you're talking about.
That's true. That's true. So for any of our active NYPD members, they're aware of what 301 is. Retired guys, if they're retired a long time, they may not know. They probably, some of them, they're out of state right now. So the 301 is an actual system that the NYPD harbors, maintains, and monitors for low-level complaints that should not immediately go to 911. It's not something that's an emergency, but they're monitored by the New York City Police Department, and based on priority, the police department will respond from each precinct. And it's so developed now. It's not only, it used to be just by a phone call years ago, but now we actually have a 311 system. So the 311, someone calls 311, says, hey, I have, there's a loud noise stemming from the apartment next door. And, it's 11 o'clock at night. And so that would go into a system, and who's ever working the telephone switchboard at each precinct would monitor that system and say, okay, here's a noise complaint, such location. And when a sector available patrol car of 2 police officers is available based on priority, they would respond to that noise complaint. Now, here's why it's so important. John, that's a great point. I'm glad that we pointed out that 311 system. So those are low-level complaints that the police department monitors, and the special operations lieutenant of each precinct monitors and audits that 311 system and makes sure that they're properly being assessed. And also the special operations unit, they're also involved to make sure that those complaints are being addressed. And the reason why this is so important, John, and this is why I say the entire upper echelon of the police department is infected, is because, John, where do those 311 complaints get discussed? They get discussed at CompStat. Who is at CompStat? Every chief that is on this job goes to CompStat. If you're in Brooklyn and there's a CompStat, every chief is going, unless you're on vacation. Same thing for every borough. And the 311 cases are always discussed. Why? Because the theory is that if you do not address these 311 complaints, which is part of broken windows, intrusive police work, they become something bigger and they lead to potential violence. And in many cases, they're right. And what we did analyze when I was a special operations lieutenant in housing, we received numerous complaints of gambling. Low-level crime doesn't necessarily require a 911 response. But what happens when those street gambling cases are not addressed? Unfortunately, in many cases, as they start drinking, or sometimes as gang rivals, they turn into shootouts in many cases. And we've had numerous homicides as a result of it. And these 311 cases always come up at CompStat. Huge issue. John, even further, what do we know, John? We know that in each precinct right now under Eric Adams, there's a sergeant assigned to 301s. Sergeant has to go and make sure that they're addressed in a timely manner. So again, I'm going to say, every chief on this job, if they're not aware of it, I'm going to agree with you, John. They're in on it, or they are too fucking dumb. So get them all the fuck out. You know what? Sometimes it hurts us on getting monetized when we curse, but this time we have to put emphasis on it. Get them out. They're bums. Every one of them knows. Everyone at the top knows. Even the commanding officers. You go to CompStat. You have these 301s. It's one of the most important things mentioned at CompStat.
Throw the bums out. So so you know the list of 311 complaints, right? So there'll be a clear picture of enforcement done in the past for 311 complaints and lack of enforcement done going after that, right? After the end of the March program, right? You're going to be able to see that clear as day. I remember a time there was a lady, she builds a house near a bar. So it wasn't like the bar showed up after she built the house. She built the house next to the bar. And every night, all night. She called 311 and complained, or 911. She used both of them. She called about noise at the bar. So I remember one day my SOL, my special operations lieutenant, he's like, John, can you do me a favor? Go over there with the sound meter, see if they're playing the music loud, work out the decibel. He's like, we don't need to hammer the bar. I don't even think they're keeping the music loud. He's like, I've been in there. I don't even think that they play music in there. Right. So he's like, I think she's talking about the voices, but just check the sound decibel. Maybe if it breaks it, then we're going to take corrective action against the bar. I said, okay, no problem. I go over to the lady's house. I don't hear a peep. And she's like, you hear that? And I'm like, no, ma'am, I'm sorry. I don't hear anything. I was like, and she's yelling at me and I'm sitting, and the whole time in my head, I'm just like, why would you build a house near a bar and then just complain? You didn't think you were going to be mad? And the whole time in my head, I didn't say anything. I'm just sitting there like, okay, I get it, ma'am. I understand. I'm like, listen, I have the sound meter. If they violate it, I'll go over there. I'll have them fix it. I'll have them remedy it, and it won't bother you. I said, but I have it right now. There's nothing going on. And then, and I'm like, I know, as she's like talking, she's yelling at me. I'm like, I'm going to go check the bar and see if they have the music on it. And I go in, and as I open the door, they do have the music on and I hear it, but there's nothing hitting this woman's house. I couldn't even hear it until they had like a little jukebox, and it wasn't even loud. It wasn't like blaring. It was actually like low tone. And I did that same thing about 10 times. I kept having to go over there with the sound meter. Nothing was going on. And I remember a borough inspector at one time, he was just like, make these 311 stop. And I'm like, what do you want me to do? And he goes, I don't care. I just want them to stop. And he was a loser. He wound up becoming the chief of Staten Island. So if you're listening to this, I won't blow you up, but you're a loser. And he's like, make it stop. And I was like, what should I do? I was like, should I go over there and kill her? Like, what do you want me to do? She could call 311 all day. There's nothing I could do. I'm like, she's going to call 311 every night. So I don't know what to tell you. I said, it is what it is. She's going to call 311 every night. The bar doesn't violate the law. You can't even hear a peep in our house. I don't know what her problem is. I get it. Sometimes at night, people are going to stumble out of that bar and be loud. And I would hate it too, but I wouldn't have built my house by a bar. I don't know what else to tell. I don't know what else you guys want me to do. I went over there like 15 times. I was like, I don't need to keep going over there with the sound meter. But that's how serious these 311 calls are taken. That's how serious they're taken. And now you're going to have tons and tons of 311 calls, tons and tons of 911 calls, and you're not going to see any action taken against them.
John, the 311 system is monitored by the special operations lieutenant. Now, I'm not blaming the special operations lieutenant, but the special operations lieutenants do respond to CompStat. I know because I was a special operations lieutenant. You go to the CompStat with the commanding officer. It's the commanding officer, the special operations lieutenant, and the field intelligence officer. And the field intelligence officer also look at 301. Now, I'm not necessarily going to blame the field intelligence officer and special operations lieutenant. They may unknowingly be muscle and racketeering without knowing it because they're working under the guise of the commanding officer. But the commanding officer, if in fact this is alleged allegations are true, no doubt about it, is affected by it and is in on it. You cannot be that stupid. There has to be a level of communication with this. Because what do we also know about the NYPD? John, this was always presented to me, and you probably heard the same thing. And I used to hear, if it's not on paper, it didn't happen. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Right? That was always the theme of the police.
That's the NYPD. If you didn't put it on paper, nothing happened.
Exactly. So exactly that. If you respond to CompStat, you're a commanding officer of a precinct. They say, hey, listen, we have these nightlife locations, and you have 55 complaints in 4 days at this location. What did you do about it? So if you don't have any paper, any summonses, or any type of enforcement at the location, guess what you did? You did nothing. So that's why everyone is affected by this also. What was the response? You couldn't just say, we went there, showed up, had a conversation, was over. You had 55 complaints in 2 days. There had to be something documented. You had to, in that case, do something, because otherwise your corrective action did not happen.
100%, dude. 100%. I mean, and I just want to backpedal because I wasn't given a free pass on the special operations lieutenants. I'm just saying the majority of them, I think you could innocently not know what the hell you just did, or you're so busy, dude. You're not realizing. Oh yeah, whatever. Your CO calls you, yeah, whatever. Stupid job, right? Noise complaint. Not even think. You're not really. It's not on your radar, right? You're thinking about all these other things. The noise complaints are a hassle for you. They're not really your focus. I do think there are some special operations lieutenants that need to go too. They're part of the bums. I'm saying throw out. I'm not saying all of them. And the people I feel the most bad for are just the cops that responded to jobs that are going to get caught up in this whole entire thing that really had no fucking idea what was going on. Because there's probably a lot of them. It's probably a lot of them. So Patrick Donahue has two great questions. One is, what was Martin's qualification for the position of the mayor's office of nightlife? Follow the money. So I'm going to read you an article about him. Marlon Bethel had sent it in, and we'll get to know Martin a little better, and then you'll see what his qualification was. Absolutely nothing. We'll read that in a minute, but I think your second question's even more impactful. And Eric, I'd just like you to answer this, and then I'll talk about it too. What kind of investigation was conducted for Martin to be terminated in one day? What do you think? What type of investigation was done?
I think that was an amazing question, right? Because while that video was playing, right immediately after when the video was finished, what did I say? I said, "Oh, how convenient that Martin was terminated right away. How convenient." So Patrick Donahue, absolutely. You know what investigation was done? Nothing. Why? Because they don't want an investigation done. They don't want an investigation done because if there is an investigation done, if all these allegations are true, and the more appearance of impropriety that we see, I mean, come on, most of us on this thread right now, listeners, our friends of the podcast, are cops. And if you're not cops, you're intelligent people, because I see the comments how you weigh in. And Marlon, thank you so much for that information. That's why I love these lives. We build each other. We help each other out to put this information out there. Stuff that John and I maybe don't have access to or overlooked. So we help each other out. So absolutely. If he was terminated one day, Patrick Donahue, you obviously are definitely a cop or retired, because you did exactly what a cop does. You asked a question that you already know the answer to. And the answer is there was absolutely no investigation, because they don't want an investigation. Because an investigation will reveal all this information. Another blight on this administration, another shroud of bad judgment. To me, it's another indicator that this all in fact is going to be true.
100%. I mean, what's the investigation? The investigation is, oh shit, we got caught. Oh shit, we got caught. What do we do? All right, we're gonna fire you, okay? And you're gonna keep your mouth shut. They're running around like chickens without a head at City Hall. They're running around like chickens without a head, and there's a lot of parking lot meeting going on. And I don't think they're having them on level S in One Police Plaza anymore. You're welcome, guys. But yeah, there was zero investigation done, because obviously the Office of the Nightlife is well aware of what's going on, and obviously so was the mayor. So was the mayor. That's what that seems like to me. If you could make a determination in one day, that means right then and there, and this guy was terminated right then and there, it's a smoking gun. You got the gun. You got the evidence right there. So I'd love to have Terry Monahan here to answer some questions. So Terry, if you're listening to this, bro, jump on. You could redeem yourself. I'd love to hear your answers. Let's read about Mr. Martin. So this comes in from the Brooklyn paper. Marlon Bethel had researched this and sent this over to the podcast. So this was on May 28th of 2008. Before I read this, there's 659 people in here. We appreciate everybody for joining us this morning. We'll probably go about 2 hours. Not going to go all day again. You guys could just do us a favor, like, share out the space, subscribe if you like what you're hearing. If you're on social media, if you could just drop us a like and share, get some more people in here, get some more thoughts and a little bit more information. All right. So here's James Aide to be deported. City council staffer to get boot over technicality. So James is Tish James, who's, by the way, it's Friday and hasn't tweeted in 2 days, nor has said a word about the police commissioner. So a well-known and admired aide and city council member, Letitia James's office, is facing imminent deportation stemming from a minor drug infraction in 1985. Ray Martin, 44, who's listed as a James deputy chief of staff, but works mainly as a community liaison, was arrested last week after immigration and customs enforcement agents raided his Flatbush residence. Oh, nice guy. The immigration authorities in the aftermath of September 11th are destroying families, and I'll be happy when a Democrat is in the White House to reform these draconian laws that have touched me personally and what my office has been dealing with the last 5 years, James said. Don't those words ring home true, huh? Yet she keeps winning elections. It's unbelievable. And this paper went to the press. Martin was held at the Immigration and Naturalization Services Detention Center on Varick Street in Manhattan. He could conceivably be sent to his native Jamaica within another day, according to his attorney, Cheryl David. According to David and several sources familiar with the story, Martin immigrated with his family, including 7 siblings, in the late 70s when he was 12 years old. In 1985, Martin was busting for attempting to buy a controlled substance, a misdemeanor. He pleaded guilty and paid a fine. Martin went to Barbados in 2001, and upon his return to the country, custom agents ran a check. They found an old drug offense and confiscated his green card. He failed to show up at the ensuing immigration hearing, saying he was sick. And on November 9, 2001, a deportation order issued. ICE official did not respond to phone calls concerning either Martin's case or what prompted them to go to Martin's residence and pick him up more than 6 years after the order was issued. David said in the 1990s, immigration laws were tightened where legal resident aliens, known as green card holders, were held to higher standards to remain in the country legally and could be deported for even a minor drug infraction. Sounds like a fair proposition to me. James said these laws were further tightened following September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks. And that, my friends, is how you secure a nation, the sovereignty of a nation. In order to work for a city council member, Martin needed an official government background check. Spokesperson for City Council Christine Quinn said the background check would have been done through the city's Department of Administrative Services, also known as DCAS, and the Speaker's office, but did not have further information on Martin at press time. James said Martin has been on her staff since 1993 and prior to that worked for the city's small business services under the jurisdiction of the mayor, Mike Bloomberg's office. A DOI, Department of Investigation spokesperson, said the agency does only background investigations on city managers and employees earning over $80,000. James and Martin had been flagged by the city, and he was told he was working on resolving the issue. I've been working with authorities on his behalf on a number of fronts around the clock, said James. If it wasn't for these draconian laws, which have destroyed families and separated children, he could have gone to court and resolved it. James said it's important to note that Martin has not been involved in the criminal justice system since 1985. He's a solid citizen and a loyal employee, and I'm doing all I can to reverse this. I want to thank everyone who has come forward to provide the support, said James. Sources said Martin, whose father died about 2 years ago, helped support his mother, his fiance, and her son, and several other family members. So there you go. That is our friend, Mr. Martin. Office of Nightlife of the Mayor.
Yeah, again, I want to shout out to Marlon. Marlon, great friend to the podcast, should not have been terminated by the police department. And again, this is the failure of the leadership on the police department. Did you think that John McCary and Eric Dim and Marlon Bethel and many others, not just us, we can't name everybody, right? We were ambitious while we were in the police department. Did you think we were not going to be ambitious after the police department? Thank you, Marlon, for doing investigative work outside the police department, continuing to use your intelligence and helping us out. Brother, you're a great friend to the podcast. I appreciate it. I mean, this speaks volumes. This says it all. I mean, again, we're putting all this stuff together. Right now, we just need that second piece of bread to put on top here and to make this one giant sandwich and put this all together. This potentially could be, John, and I say it. We spoke about this. What is more important? What crime was committed or who committed the crime, and we both said it's both, especially because when it involves leadership, especially the stems of leadership we see throughout this administration, this could potentially be the largest corruption case in New York State and arguably the entire country we've ever seen, John.
That's what it's shaping up to be. That's what it's shaping up to be. So Marlon brings up a good point. I just want to read it. He says, for all we know, Martin could have simply been referring folks to James Caban for help, and Caban simply took the opportunity to get his crumbs because everyone is eating off the system in some form or another. So I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to disagree with you because this is the office to help those clubs. Why would Marlon, we were all cops. You're not allowed to refer services to anybody. People come up to you on New York City streets. What's your favorite restaurant? I'm like, listen, or could you recommend a restaurant? I'm like, I can't recommend a restaurant, but I eat at, like, you know what I mean? But I just ate there. It was good, but I can't give you a recommendation. We're literally trained that in the police department. And that is, because you're steering business. It's business steering. So this is the office that handles nightlife. You're having an issue with the police department. You're having an issue with Department of Buildings. You're having an issue with the health department. You're having an issue with the fire department. You're having violations. They were going to cure it, right? And instead, they're saying, nah, call this guy. Call that guy. So I'm not saying that this guy's not a fall guy and he might not know what he was doing. But it looks like a lot of people in that office knew what was going on. It looks like that office was put in place for those exact reasons. So you go back to my earlier tweets when I said that. I said it the minute that thing got pulled down. The minute that thing got pulled down, I said, this makes absolutely no sense. And everybody should raise an eyebrow at this. Everybody should be asking, why are we getting rid of the March program? Everybody should be asking it. The appearance of impropriety is there. And sure enough, this cure office is referring people. And you see it clear as day. It was in that text, in that video. Martin texted the business owner, call James Caban. Did you call James yet? So I hear what you're saying. We got to look around everything. The way I'm looking at it, I say there's a problem. I say that there's a big problem here. What do you think about?
I see Marlon's comment. He put, I agree. No making excuses for him. He's worked in government long enough to know better. Sometimes you can't tell someone's demeanor. Marlon, I love you, brother. I have to admit, when I first saw your comment, I thought you were being facetious. I thought you were kind of being sarcastic about it. Like, for all we know, he's just speaking to James. Because I find that hard to believe. And again, I believe that if this is true, this guy may be dumb enough just to believe that he's doing the right thing or not even know what the hell he's doing. But if this is true, in order to carry this out, I will say this again, this takes extreme amount of communication and extreme amount of resources. I don't think that you could carry this out with James Caban just alone, because you need teeth behind it. Because if you're willing to, if this is going the manner which we believe, right? Let's say Marlon's right. There's just communication with James Caban. How does James Caban actually show the muscle behind that? Like, hey, listen, if you don't pay, then you're going to start getting these summonses. So how does James pull that off? Because if he doesn't, he's just bluffing, right? And eventually someone's going to call his bluff. So I would say in order to carry this out, there has to be a level of communication. John, would you agree? I find it hard to believe that there's not. And also, I just want to add this on here. So that's why I love these comments. Our friends listen to the podcast, trolls. I see communication, different conversations. And I saw a couple of people say, well, Chief Kemper was in transit, so he's good. He doesn't know about it. Wrong. He goes to Comstat just like every other chief. He's involved in serious meetings in the police department. He's involved in everything. Absolutely not. There's no coincidence that Chief Kemper left at this time. Tell me different. I don't believe otherwise.
Yeah, I have a few questions for them, but I won't ask them on here because I don't want to prep them for anything. So I don't want them to come up with an answer. So I'm not gonna ask those questions. But Tabitha, I see you. If you ever want to come on here, let us know. Just want to get that out there. So let's get into the next article. All right, let's talk about, let's see, the Post breaks down the bar owner. Let's see what they say. I'll tell you, the Post has been like, ugh, I don't know. I like them. They've been going, but some of their articles, I guess they got to put out a shitload of articles, but some of the articles, I'm just like, what the hell? And this isn't one of them, but I'm just, All right, so New York City bar owner claims outgoing NYPD commissioner brother tried to extort him over police enforcement report. Wonder where you guys heard that first? About the extortion racketeering scheme. Wonder. I can't put my finger on it. So the appointment of veteran lawman Tom Donnellan as interim NYPD commissioner still leaves a void atop the nation's largest police force. There's no shortage of contenders for permanent top cop. Mayor Eric Adams' pick of Donnellan. Eric, before I even go further, do you believe that Eric Adams picked Donnellan?
We were just talking about this literally 30 seconds before we started. I said, there's no doubt in my mind. No one can tell me different. Eric Adams did not, 1,000% did not put Donnellan as the police commissioner of the New York City Police Department. First of all, it goes completely against the grain, against his theme with the first of many. And when he talks about, he said it himself. He said, we need to change the image of the police department. So we're going 360 right back to the old image of the old pale white male and stale. So that's what we got, right? That is not a pick. If anyone thinks that Mayor Eric Adams appointed Donnellan as the police commissioner of the New York City Police Department, then you seriously need to wake up. Absolutely not. I would put my last dollar on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to agree with you. Well, I think ultimately he appointed him. I think ultimately Eric Adams appointed him.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm with you, man. I don't think that was his pick. You know why? Because it goes against. You're 100% right, and I'll pull it up again if I can find it. I'll pull it up again. But when the day that Ed Caban was anointed police commissioner, we said it on here 1,000 times, so I don't even have to play it for you. I'll just tell you what Eric Adams said. He said the NYPD has a great crime fighting profile, but it doesn't have a good image profile. When you look at the NYPD, you don't see the diversity. You don't see the youth. And then before he went further in his racist statement, he pulled a mother up on stage, and then that was the end of it. So that's what happened. But so Tom Donnellan, when I look at him, I don't see the diversity. I don't see the youth. I see the too pale, too male, too stale white guy that was standing behind him, like John Shell. Like, is he talking about me? So
I'm sure he's here right now.
Patrick Donahue said the fire was so hot yesterday, I overheard one nervous dream teamer was cooking off in his recent pool edition that was severely discounted. Who just got a new pool, guys? Which one of you? Which one is you watching it from the pool now?
Was it in ground or above ground?
These guys are ballers, bro. They ain't got no above ground pool.
Those 5'11" pants must be doing well, huh?
Yeah. These guys ain't getting no. So here we go. Is this the same one that I was reading? Yeah.
I think so.
Oh, no. You know what? I was reading a different article. Okay.
It's got to look like each other.
It sounded like it was the same. So, all right. A Brooklyn bar owner has alleged the twin brother of ousted police commissioner tried to extort him to sought help getting NYPD off his back last summer, according to a report. Shamel Kelly told NBC that he was introduced to the top cop's brother, James Caban, by a city hall staffer. We already told you who that city hall staffer is and who he worked for, the office of the mayor, nightlife of the mayor. Kelly reportedly said that Caban told him he'd take care of his problems with the police department if he paid him $2,500. He said he will mediate my issues, Kelly told the local station of the alleged conversation. He said he could bring the NYPD to me and resolve our issues is what he said he could do. but the struggling business owner refused, and he claimed a constant police presence at his Coney Island bar only got worse, to the point he eventually shuttered the establishment. After he said I'd pay him for it, I felt like he was trying to extort me, and I said, nah, I'm good. I'll just deal with it. Now I'm going to deal with it, and it got worse, Kelly said. Kelly's business, Juice and More Bar, a juicy bar by day and bar lounge by night, had the required permits and liquor license, but was facing a slew of noise complaints in the summer of 23. He was introduced to a staffer from the mayor's office of entertainment and nightlife, Ray Martin, who he helped sort out the near constant police presence at his bar that he said was hurting his business. Instead, Martin allegedly asked for a fixer as James Caban. He went on to how he thinks I should just close the bar, and if I don't close the bar, there's only one way to get the police to stop doing what they're doing. He said to speak to one of his friends, which was James Caban's guy, Kelly told NBC. James Caban, a former NYPD cop himself, the twin brother of Ed Caban, who resigned his gig as the NYC police commissioner on Thursday. The twins are being eyed in a sweeping federal corruption probe that extends to the major aides of Mayor Eric Adams and NYPD top brass. Neither has been accused of wrongdoing. I'd just like to add, yet. Phone records reviewed by the news station show that Kelly spoke to James Caban over the phone and text in August 23. One of those phone calls, James Caban allegedly asked Kelly for $2,500 payment. The bar owner said he was shocked. I assume you'll be okay. Let's figure out what the problem is. I'm not expecting, oh, you got to pay me. Nah, that doesn't fall with me, Kelly told NBC. I felt like it was an ultimatum. It's like you're either going to get with us, get with this, or you're going to get shut down, he added. Kelly eventually closed his bar in February, he said. He said he was upset and disappointed by what happened, and he believes he's not the only business owner in the city to deal with. I don't think it's just me, Kelly said. I think that is probably a thing that is going on in New York, to be honest. City Hall fired Martin soon after learning of the allegations against him in NBC. We appreciate WNBC for this information to our attention, and bring it to our attention yesterday afternoon. After receiving this inquiry, we immediately began an internal review and found that Mr. Martin violated the terms of his employment, Deputy Mayor of Communications Fabian Levy said in the statement Thursday. Mr. Martin was terminated for cause. We expect all city employees to act ethically and in public interest. Because WNBC just reported that both the DOJ and the DOI are investigating this matter, we are unable to comment further out of the sensitivities of their investigations. Attorneys from James Caban said he was innocent. Mr. Caban unequivocally denies any wrongdoing in his work as a consulting and acting as a liaison between the department and a private company is perfectly legal, especially given his previous career as an NYPD police officer. His attorneys, Sean Hacker and Dave Patton, said in a statement, our client has fully cooperated with law enforcement, and once their investigation is complete, it will be clear that these claims are unfounded and lack merit. Meanwhile, Kelly has since been interviewed by federal agents and DOI investigators amid the corruption probe. I don't know why DOI is now waking up, right? They got these allegations too. I don't know why they're just, we just found out about this. No, you didn't. You knew about this last year when we filed the complaint.
Well, it's not in this article. And the video that you played, there's different versions of the news video you had. Some are a little longer than others. But there's a point. I'm not sure if it came up in this one or another video I saw. But apparently, Kelly, the bar owner, was posting information about what was going on social media as far back as February. John, you and I spoke about that yesterday. As far back as February. So where is Internal Affairs? Where's Internal Affairs, their investigation unit that scrubs social media? That this guy's posting stuff about this back in February. And there's no investigation, there's no indication, and there's no one to allege that's an issue that James Caban has a security detail, why there's a cloud of judgment and a shroud of potential corruption going on. Even just the claim alone is the appearance of impropriety, and everything needs to be done, a full investigation, so that we can exonerate everyone and vet the information so that the police department can actually protect themselves. And so can the mayor if there's no legit corruption occurring So the fact that they didn't conduct an investigation just highlights that DOI is corrupted. The DOI has to have oversight from another entity. The fact that the mayor has the oversight of the DOI is an indication of why the DOI has been asleep at the wheel the entire time. This whole operation is infected. That's why, John, this could potentially be a corruption scandal that stems throughout the entire state. Everyone could be involved, from the state liquor authority to Tish James to the mayor Eric Adams to the aides to DOI. I mean, this is crazy. We do not know how this is going to unravel. That's why the phones are going to be key to closing out this investigation, get all the intricate details of what is actually going on to tie this together. That's a huge red flag. The fact that he was terminated one day, we don't want to do an investigation to figure out the details of what's going on. What else is he involved in that's unethical? This is crazy, John. I can't believe that in 2024 that we're sitting here and actually discussing this.
Well, I think, I think the big thing is that for me is like Fabian, we nicknamed you the minister of propaganda, and the reason is that because you truly are acting as a propaganda arm for this administration, and it's disgusting. And I get it's an open investigation, but here's the bottom line. Should have been labeled out for New York City residents and for the entire world watching this debacle exactly what rules and regulations Mr. Martin violated that you terminated him for. And it wasn't, and that was done on purpose, and it shouldn't have been. So absolutely, Eric, and the reason they're doing that is they don't want people to know. They don't want people to know what was taking place at the office of the nightlife of the mayor, right? So that's that. Like, that's to me. But I agree. This corruption scandal, like we said yesterday, how could he fix the other complaints? How can the New York City Police Department fix other numerous different complaints? They can't. I don't know if you guys follow Dave Savella, but if you don't, I think I recommend that you do on X. Dave Savella, I think he calls himself Scutch. Scutch is a term, people used to call, like, he's a pain in the ass. He's a Scutch, like, don't be a Scutch, like that's what it is. So, but yeah, he's Scooch on Twitter or at Dave Savella. And if you go follow him, he's showing all the people who haven't said a word. And it's, to me, them not saying anything, Tish James not saying anything, City Council, Justin Brannon, Jennifer Maj Kumar, State Assembly woman. Who's the other one that's running for? Borough President, Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine. All three people that are running for controller of New York City, who are involved in handling the checks and balances in New York City. Not one of them said a word. Nobody said a word. Brad Landa hasn't said a word. Nobody said a word about this. And then it's like, well, how'd they get to those other state and city agencies? I don't know. And all the politicians are running. So the article I was reading prior, I think we should get into, and it's, here's who could replace Ed Caban as the next permanent police commissioner after top cop's resignation. So I'm just going to say right now, I know I like skimmed the article last night. I didn't read it, but I skimmed it, and I just saw Madry, Daughtry. I'm saying it again. The bums got to go. Throw the bums out. They were either too stupid to see the scam, or they were in on it. And I don't think they're that stupid. I think they're dumb. I think they're inept. I think they're incompetent. But I don't think they're that stupid. I don't think they're that stupid when they see this the police commissioner's twin brother getting escorted around and handling complaints at bars and calling their COs and calling them to take care of things. I don't think you're that stupid. You know that's not right. And if you don't know that's right, you have no business being a cop. So before I get in the article, what do you think about that, Eric?
Well, that's what I want to tell you, John, right? One thing I learned in life, and I know you're probably thinking the same thing, and our friends and listeners right now, I wonder if you're thinking the same thing also. So one thing I learned in life is this. Some of the stupidest people I've ever met were the smartest people when it came to money. I don't care how stupid you are, but when it comes to money, everyone's eyes are open and everyone is aware and everyone has their own form of intelligence when it comes to money. And you know what I'm talking about, John. You can meet the stupidest people that just have zero intelligence. But if you owe them $50, they won't forget. They remember you owe them $50. Some people have bad memories, but not when it comes to money. Some people are not intelligent, but not when it comes to money. I mean, I've seen the stupidest people. Have we? And most of us, wait on line at a grocery store, and sometimes you're online in these supermarkets, and the line is like taking forever. And you ever get that person who's just like a complete bumbling idiot, and they're paying the cashier, but they know how much change they're supposed to get. And if they don't get the right change, they figure it out right there. Like, you're like, man, that person's a complete idiot, but they managed to figure out how much change. So again, I'm going to say that even though I believe that a majority of the administration, the upper echelon of the New York City Police Department right now are bumbling idiots and they're useful idiots. When it comes to money, they know what's going on. John, think about some of the stupidest cops you've ever met, right? And I hate to say it, a majority of cops are, they're intelligible, but there's some stupid cops. But they know their pension statement. They can't tell you much, but they know their pension statement. They know how much money to make. They know how to ask questions when it comes to ITHP, increased take-home pay, the waiver. They know about 50% additional. That they know about. You know what I'm saying? So, and Franco put, thanks for reminding me, Eric. My brother owes me $500. Say, that's hysterical. But you know what I'm saying, John? It's true. When it comes to money, everyone's intelligent. Everyone knows. That's my point.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And for people that tout themselves as street cops and that they come from the street and they're street guys, you didn't see the scam? You're from the street? Now, I don't think Kaz Daughtry's from the street. I think Kaz Daughtry is from the Nintendo generation. He was sitting in his room playing, but I think he wants to be from the street. I think he tries to portray himself as from the street. And then again, he was protected his entire career. He never really had to stand on his own 2 feet. So I don't care about the work he did out there because it wasn't the same work that he wasn't in the same track and he didn't deal with the same things that everybody else dealt with. So it's not, to me, he's a rookie in my eyes. John Shell went through those processes. I think even Tanya Kinsella a little bit. I think even Tariq Shepard didn't. To tend the hands Tariq Shepard. What do we call him? Action Tariq? Action hero Tariq? 22 arrests?
Oh, Action Jackson Tariq.
Action Jackson Tariq. Yeah. I don't think he went through those processes.
No, you called Tariq Hill Tariq Shepard.
Yeah, I did. Sorry. I didn't mean that, cheetah.
By the way, that cost up was the best thing that ever happened to Miami Dolphins. I see they were all over TV yesterday. Those jerseys must be flying right now.
Yeah, well, I had him in on DraftKings and he did shit for me. So screw you, Tariq.
I think he got arrested.
But yeah, no, he I like, you didn't see it. You guys are from the street. You guys are street cops and you didn't see it. Now we don't know anything. Now we're not street cops. They weren't so smart. Now John Shell, Kaz Daughtry, Tanya Kinsella, Tariq Shepard. Now they're not so smart. They're not street cops no more. They're not street guys no more. Now nobody knows what's going on. Nobody's from the hood no more. Nobody saw the scam. How could you believe that? So I just wanted to nail that home before we read this article. Who could replace Edward Caban as the next permanent NYPD commissioner? It should not be one person on this list. So
I'd rather have the store clerk at 7-Eleven, honestly.
100%. I'd take anybody. So the appointment of I did this already, right? And we said that we don't believe that Eric Adams appointed him, right? They said the appointment of Tom Donnellan. We know he appointed him, but we think he was more like, you're going to appoint him. Rumored candidates for the next police commissioner include some of the NYPD's most prominent names, in addition to other high-profile officials. Right? Here we go. Oh, I didn't even see this article from the Post. This was the thing. Dead Caban walking.
Yo, that's a good title. Dead Caban boy. Oh my God.
I didn't even see that.
You know what, though? Honestly, I got it. This is the part. Listen, I beat up the fraternal organizations all the time, but I will side with them right now. It's messed up that that he's on an island by himself right now. You know what, brother? I tell you, I don't know if you do karaoke, Kaz Daughtry does, but this is the time to sing. There is no way in hell, if anyone believes, if this allegation is true, that Caban is a one-man show, you're out of your mind. You are out of your mind. There is no way. Ed Mullins wasn't a one-man show, and this sure as hell is not a one-man show. And this is the part, this part helps him. I think he's a bumbling idiot. I hear he's a nice guy, but he's a bumbling idiot. There's no way he can pull this off by himself. Thank God. He better tell people, listen, I'm not a smart guy. I can't do this by myself.
Yeah.
Come on, dude.
No, I agree. So listen, everybody, we got about 888 people in here. You guys could just do us a favor. If you like what you hear, just like, subscribe. If you're on social media, just do us a favor and like and hit repost and follow myself, Eric Dim, and the Finest Cast, please. Appreciate you guys. So we're talking about New York City bar owner who alleges a City Hall and NYPD shakedown, an extortion racket. So before we go further, this is an image that's been floating around the department. I heard that some of the fraternals are making a huge stink about this, trying to make it racist. This thing's going around the department. People throwing Ed Caban. And listen, I get it, man. I get everyone that's like, why is it just Caban? I agree with you. Clear that wall. Throw the bums out. Take all their pitches and throw it in the garbage. I agree with you guys. I'm saying it right now, and I think, what you're going to see is a huge rift in the Adams administration right now. And I don't think anything's far behind on this administration. I don't think Ed Caban's photo in the garbage pail is going to be lonely for long. Just put it that way. I don't think so. What are your thoughts about that? Do you think there's going to be other photos in that garbage can?
Well, honestly, I actually support this picture. I tell you why. Absolutely. Because if you give the police department the appearance of impropriety and the police commissioner, you are a bum. Your picture belongs in the garbage. But when it comes to this particular case, there's absolutely no underlying issue of racism. Get out of here with that bullshit. That's absolutely not true. But that garbage can should stay, and we should see a stack of pictures in there because there's other bums to go with it. He should not be going down with this shit by himself. Absolutely. That part I agree. There's no way he facilitated this by himself. So someone put in here, should LePetri be the PC? What are your thoughts on that? I know you always spoke highly of LePetri. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
So I think that Mike LePetri is a really smart guy. I think that he's a hardworking guy. But unfortunately, he works for Eric Adams' administration. He works on the Get Stuff Done team. He hasn't said a word about anything. He's very observant. And he's another one. You didn't know? You didn't know, Mike? You're going to tell me you didn't know? That was a street cop, bro. That was a dude that had a great eye. He's a high performer. I'm going to tell you right now, I think he might be more guilty than all because he knows better than everybody.
I'm going to tell you right now, brother. I used to go to Comstat every 4 to 6 weeks working the South Bronx. And LePetri was one of the most intelligent people that we had on the job. It was super impressive at Comstat. But guess what? You know what I'm going to say today? Bum. Get that bum out, coward. Because this entire time that Kaz Daughtry and John Shell have been at the tip of the spear, you haven't said a word. Coward. Get that bum out. You can take all that intelligence and shove it up your ass. Because useless. I mean, honestly, disappointment, get him out.
LePetri's integrity is above reproach. I totally disagree with you. We're all very well aware of what happened in his office with the worker in his office, a female, and then her husband. Everybody's very aware of that. So, I mean, whatever. You could like him as a person. I think he's one of the most intelligent people in the police department. I think he's one of the most highest performing people in the police department. I think he's one of the most competent people in the police department, which is why he should be held to a high standard. And this is not integrity. I'm sorry. This is not integrity. This is not integrity. This is not integrity. Those things are not integrity. Hear no evil, see no evil. So his integrity is definitely is questionable.